Hello everyone, welcome back to Vocally Annotated. My name is Sarika and today we're going to be discussing career planning and specifically figuring out your career focus and what direction you want to go in. This is a 5-week plan that should hopefully help you narrow down that focus so that you can actually pick a lane you want to go in. I've designed this for people who are career changers. I've designed it with people in mind who don't know what they want to do as a future career. Maybe you're in your last year of uni, maybe you might even be in school still if you're watching this, I don't know. But well, like I said, you might be an adult career changer who's looking to make a move and you don't know which direction you want to move in. So that's kind of who this is aimed at. Anyone who needs to figure out, like, I've got all these different interests and I need to narrow this down somehow and pick a direction I want to go in. And the reason why I feel qualified to talk about this is because that person is me. This is something I struggled with a lot, except as the oldest child, I didn't have anyone here to tell me these things. So now I am here sharing my knowledge and understanding with the world, I guess. But these are the things I wish someone had told me. I am very much this kind of person where for years it was such a struggle for me to pick a direction I wanted to go in, because I was like, once I have my direction, that's fine. I can full send it and I can give it my full effort and energy. But I don't even know what direction I want to go in, so how am I supposed to do that without figuring it out? And a lot of the typical advice is, oh, just pick something and start. And for me, that's never worked, because I'm like, well, how do I know what to pick? How do you... Again, it comes back to that same thing. I just get wrapped up in the, thinking about it all, the thinking rather than the doing. So this is a 5-week plan to get you out of that thinking and into the doing, so you can start to take the little baby steps into doing, so you can start to see what it is you like and where you want to full send it from there. I do have this all written down in my notebook. I can't show you the actual page because it does have some personal information for somebody else who's trying to help, but we can begin. So week 1 starts with you listing 5 things that you think you might be interested in. Anything where you're like, yeah, I'm kind of interested in that, I don't mind exploring that for a career. Because for me, one thing I've discovered is that I have things that I'm interested in and I have things that I want to study. So for example, I'm interested in psychology. I do not like the process of studying psychology. I can't be bothered with remembering all the cases and all the things that you're supposed to remember and doing the research. I don't like it. Something I want to study is history. And someone else can make the same comment about history. Like, people have made the same comment to me. Like, I hate remembering all the dates and stuff. It's just so boring. To me, that doesn't feel difficult. It just feels effortless. I remember dates and it's not hard for me. So for me, studying history and being able to, like, not put some backbone into it, but like put more into it. But the point is that while I think psychology is a very interesting subject and I love being able to, like, my best friend is a therapist, I love being able to talk to her about stuff and learn from her. I love being able to learn from the other... I seem to know a lot of people who are studying psychology, but it's not something that I would do. And so the point of week 1 is for you to just write down anything you're interested in, just 5 things. Because you don't know what you're interested in versus what you're interested in studying. And when I say studying, that does also transfer to working, because in any career, if you want to push it and you want to advance in it, you need to be able to be a lifelong learner about the topic. And if we stick with my example, I would not be a lifelong learner when it comes to psychology, but if it was history related, then yeah, I would be doing that in my spare time for fun. So that's why I think you need to figure out what you're interested in versus what you want to study. But at this point, you don't know that. So I just need you to list 5 things that you're even tangentially interested in and write them down. Then throughout the week, you're going to go away and you're going to research each of those 5 things. And you're going to research them 3 different times. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to start by researching, what is this topic, what does it mean? That's like stage 1 of research, because also a lot of job roles don't correlate to subjects you might be familiar with in school or anything you might have learned so far. So you do need to go and figure out, and they might have also changed between like the past 20 years and now, for example, because of technological advancements. So you need to go and figure out, what does this field look like today? If you did that successfully, then hopefully something caught your eye, caught your attention about that field. And the second step is to go away and read about that. And then again, same thing between the second step and the third step. So hopefully you're niching down each time you read more about this field. And make notes on what you're reading, just in terms of like, this interested me, this didn't really interest me, whatever. But I have found it's pretty telling whether you even do the reading or not in the first place, because if you're not interested in it, from what I've seen, you won't even do the reading. So that's what I mean, keep track of what stage of reading you got to for each topic, and how far you read, and how much you were interested in what you were reading. Rank all of the topics that you researched for the week and figure out which one was your favourite. You can use any kind of ranking system you want, but just be aware that this one is your favourite, because we're going to revisit that, so that you have a baseline standard of something that the future topics need to meet. And it gives you an understanding of what your standard is and what you're looking for. Now, for week 2, if you found something in week 1 that interested you, that's great. Keep researching that and go to town reading about it. If not, make another list of 5 things to research for this week. 2 of them can be things that you've already heard of, are already in your sphere, but 3 things have to be completely brand new to you, things that you wouldn't ordinarily think of, but this week you're going to go and research them, and you're going to follow the same process as last week, where you're going to read in 3 stages to figure out what actually captures your interest and what doesn't. And remember to continue ranking the topics you're researching, and also noting down how far you got in your reading process and how interesting it was to you. I'd also suggest this week you go and do some reading on unfair advantages and start to let those ideas kind of marinate in the back of your head. For week 3, you're going to repeat the steps that you took in week 2. So again, if you found something you were really interested in the first 2 weeks, just continue researching that. If not, pick another 5 research topics with 2 things you're already familiar with and 3 things that are completely brand new to you. And this also includes ranking all the research topics for week 3. So by this point, by the end of week 3, you will have 15 topics that you'll have read up on in the span of 3 weeks. 6 of them will be things that were completely brand new to you, things that you hadn't thought about before, and you'll have increased your exposure quite a lot to a variety of things in a small span of time, but also in a way that's not overwhelming because it's all broken up. And so you've ranked the topics from week 1, you've ranked the topics from week 2, and now you've ranked the topics from week 3. And so if you still haven't found that thing, that spark, by week 3, then you can put the tallies up against each other and see what you researched over the course of those 3 weeks that you found most interesting and you want to roll with. And you might get to the end of the 3 weeks and think, I read about 15 different things, but nothing interested me like that, to the point where I now feel ready to go and make this my career focus. Unfortunately, the only thing I can say is once you've tallied up the 15 research topics and seen which one you rank the highest, just roll with it. It sounds so frustrating to hear and for me to say, considering I know how much I didn't find it useful to be told to just roll with it. But it's not like you're being told to just roll with it off the cuff. At this point, you'll have done research on 15 topics. Some of them will be very different from each other, and so you're in a much better position to be able to say, I don't know, like none of these quite hit the spot, but I'm going to go with this one, rather than if you just came out the bat swinging, you said, I'm just going to pick a random hill. This is not a random hill. This is an educated opinion. You're taking an educated opinion on which hill you want to climb. Okay, so you're not completely, I have no idea, I feel lost. This is not that. Okay, so that is what I can say to you in the way of being reassuring about this, that you might not have found your thing yet, but you are definitely closer than where you started. And so with that in mind, you're going to take the career focus that you've identified from your feedback on your research topics, and you want to go and pick a small project that's rooted in that focus, and that is going to be your takeaway from week 3. It needs to be really small, it needs to be feasible for your time and energy levels. It just needs to be something for you to test the water. So don't overdo it, don't feel like you have to really think outside the box. Look up some ideas for your chosen field and see what you can make happen in a couple of days. You don't want to spend too much time on this project because we do still have weeks 4 and 5 to get through, but maybe something you can spend a day on, a couple of days on, maybe even a few hours, and that's great. Because then we come to week 4, which is about evaluating the project you just worked on. What did you like about it? What did you dislike about it? If something caught your attention, then focus your next project on that. Otherwise, try the same subject again, but from a new angle. So try a different spin on things and see how that goes. The same kind of rules apply to this project where you want it to be feasible, you don't want it to be overwhelming, it shouldn't take up all your time for that reason. And again, this is about you testing the waters. And now we come to week 5. And you've come so far in 5 weeks. You now have a list of 15 research topics, how you feel about each of these topics if you were to go and work in the field and have to learn about them, and you now have 2 projects under your belt. So kudos to you, pat yourself on the back, because you've come really far in 5 weeks and you've made a lot of progress. This definitely puts you in a better position than you were in at the start of this plan. So now it's time to take the learnings from these 5 weeks and start considering your next steps. So the projects that you've done will now become part of your CV. So however you want to upload them, whatever platform you want to use, that'll be dependent on what you're doing, what your project is, what your field is, but figure out a way to get them online so you can have some sort of portfolio for a future employer. And I know what I'm saying is not going to sound great because, you know, you don't really know what you're doing. You did these 2 small projects that were just to test the waters, and now you're showing them to an employer. I know it sounds really scary, but this is really important for not letting yourself get caught in that paralysis of the perfectionism of, this needs to be really perfect before I can present it to an employer. I need to have worked on this X, Y, and Z ways. I'm not good enough at this thing yet. That's the point. You've done these projects, you've seen what you're good at, and now's the time to make use of them. So you're going to upload them, and next time you have an interview or even on your CV, you're going to add a link to where your work is so employers can see. Even if you don't go into that particular field, that's fine, especially if you're a career changer. And by career changer, I do also mean anyone who's studied one subject at uni but wants to work in a different field. Because the point here is that you can spin that and tell the employer that you're demonstrating that you can learn new things and you're adaptable and you can learn quickly. So nothing is wasted. Like, even if at the end of these 5 weeks you decide you don't actually like the field you've been working on, and after doing these 2 projects it's not your thing, that's fine. But these 2 projects are still useful and they're still going to build part of your portfolio and CV for helping you land a job in the new field that you want to work in. So start editing your CV, get those projects on there, start considering your next steps, if that includes any qualifications, any other learning you can do, and really use this as a jumping off point to start doing more projects and building more experience, because that is truly going to be the thing that gets you from A to B. And that is the power of this 5-week plan. So that's everything for this episode. That actually went quicker than I expected it to, but that's cool because ultimately it's a very simple plan. And again, this is something I wish someone had told me when I started looking for a job. This is the advice I now give to people in my real life who ask for help, and this is the advice I hope is helpful for you in determining which direction you want to go in. So thank you so much for listening, as always, and I will see you guys in the next episode.